Here's the thing. So I've thought for a long time that OG Bitcoiners were great at talking about Bitcoin. They were bad at talking about personal finance. And I've thought for a long time we actually don't need more like Bitcoin philosophy in the world. We need like cold hard tactics on like getting rich and staying rich. That's what we need. Because and honestly, that then the philosophy will take care of itself. The philosophy will take care of itself because the number one way to impact the world is to get really rich and to be really wealthy. The problem with that is that in the current fiat money regime, the only way to get rich and wealthy is to effectively know about the Cantillon effect, and just be as close to the money printer as possible and learn how to just get in the flow of free, cheap, easy fiat money. That's the way to become rich and wealthy and influential in the fiat world. And so Bitcoiners, rightfully so, see Bitcoin as a solution to fiat money and are passionate about talking about that. I get it. When I ran a poll on this channel to everyone watching, and I said, do you care about growth of your principal or do you care about passive income? It was mixed, but a majority of people clicked passive income. Here's a crypto analogy also that has recently come to mind. You know how there's a big kind of argument between proof of work and proof of stake? I've started reframing that in terms of like growth versus income. There's tension in crypto between growth and income. Bitcoiners see the price of Bitcoin rising and going up as like vindication on Bitcoin being better than fiat money. That's the highest level signal that can happen, is for a price to just blow out, because that shows that Bitcoin is more valuable than US dollars. It shows that the stock market is going down measured in US dollars. It shows that home prices are going down measured in US dollars, right? But Bitcoin has no way to earn yield. Bitcoin has no native way to stake it and earn yield. And so I wonder how much of the like kind of people that love Ethereum and people that love Solana and people that love proof of stake systems, I wonder how much of that is almost more about the whole like desire for yield and desire for income, like passive income, rather than an actual kind of like crypto technology like debate. It's both. It's obviously both. And I think everyone has a mix of both in them. But I've started to see like more and more where kind of the talking past each other within personal finance and within crypto comes from, and putting a new lens on it through just this perspective of like growth versus income has helped me see different patterns that have like kind of always existed, but I'm like seeing them in a different light. And so here's the thing. Bitcoin might not have native staking, but because there is no founder, and because there is no native staking, and because the supply cap is just simple and straightforward, and it is what it is, it puts Bitcoin fully uniquely in its own bucket compared to anything else that exists in the world. Period. It's unlike every other stock. It's unlike every other commodity. It's unlike every other crypto. It's unlike every other currency. What that then does very functionally is it makes it very volatile. The volatility is a blessing and a curse. The volatility makes it hard for new people to understand why it's bouncing around all the time, and it's seen as risky, okay? So that's why the classic dividend fund investors and like classic financial independence retire early people on YouTube didn't love Bitcoin for a long time, and they still don't super love it. They're still kind of skeptical of it, as broadly speaking. The ice is kind of thawing on this, and the worlds are starting to collide, and they're colliding through what I want to talk about today, which is like these covered call Bitcoin funds. So last month I bought 400 shares of BTCI, and it paid me about $536 in distributions last month. And this now this packaging and this product that includes a little bit of Bitcoin appreciation and a little bit of monthly income, it's now like it feeds the proof of stake people, like other crypto people that like staking things. It has remnants of that for the like repeatable income. For dividend fund investors that up to this point have seen like their dividend, they're all about just like safe, tried and true dividend funds. The getting the message across that Bitcoin's volatility is so unique that the covered call funds are able to pay higher than an S&P 500 covered call fund or a NASDAQ covered call fund because of Bitcoin's unique volatility profile is earning BTCI and others like it a spot inside these kind of like more conservative dividend retiree type retiree classically or retire early type portfolios. Okay. And that is this then makes it easier to just be like, here's how you get rich with Bitcoin. Here's why Bitcoin can help you retire early. Here's how you get rich with Bitcoin. Here's why the volatility is a strength, not a weakness. Because speaking from personal experience, I've kind of hit a ceiling on how many people enjoy thinking and talking about the philosophical kind of like fix the money, fix the world, societal approach to Bitcoin. Now, I very much still believe that. Like I mean, it's right there. Like I put the printed face money right there because Bitcoin beats that. Like that system is old and antiquated. The new system of Bitcoin is better. I can talk about that every day of the week till the end of the day. Like that's true. But what does that do for me now? What does that do for me now? Because without tangibly backing it up with like, what does that do for me now? How does it actually change my like personal finances right now? It becomes still just kind of like empty political messaging. That's no different than anything else. No different than anything else. And I think that's part of like the other part of like growing up is like the ideals in and of themselves are not going to fix the bigger picture. The ideals in and of themselves are not going to fix the bigger picture. What you actually need is influence. You actually need wealth and influence. And so the more people that can tangibly feel their personal finances transform because of the unique feature set of Bitcoin, the more influential Bitcoin the asset is going to become, and the more of a shot we as society have at like actually replacing fiat money. So that when I talk about like how Bitcoin is so good for the individual and so good for society, that's what I'm talking about. But really hammering in on like, why is Bitcoin good for you as an individual? The reason why Bitcoin is good for you as an individual is because it has the ability to act like a hyper growth stock without all the downsides of hyper growth stocks. And its unique volatility profile is allowing products like BTCI to make outsized distributions compared to other types of funds. That's why. It's just uniquely different than anything else. And so if you are in a position where you are struggling to save dollars for something big that you need in your life, or just simply like to have a normal savings account cushion, the growth story of Bitcoin, volatility to the upside, it's the leading asset in the world, like for that. And so learning how to harness a small amount of it, and this is why we talk about 0.21 on the channel, because 0.21 is a sizable amount of Bitcoin from the network perspective of Bitcoin, puts you in the top 1%. But from the relative fiat amount sitting in a savings account is not growing enough to make an impactful like outsized gain on your personal finances. So there's the risk and reward bet. It's like a great sized risk and reward bet for the just upside savings case of Bitcoin. And then say you have that, and say you've been doing that for years and years and years, but now you need income. Now, what would actually transform your life would be $500 a month of passive income rather than, more upsized savings protection. So what do you need to do? You either need to learn how to be okay selling Bitcoin, or you need to find another product that automates the selling away of the upside for you and peeling off the income. And I think that like Bitcoin covered call products, based on the Bitcoin ETF is a clean story way to sell away some future upside for a relatively predictable amount of income today. And that now fits in how does Bitcoin change your life? It creates monthly cushion that you don't have to run on the treadmill for anymore. And what is that going to do for your family? What's that going to do for your, mental state? What's that going to do for just your free time? You're gonna have more time to focus on your health or focus on your kids. Like all the dream, the classic YouTube personal finance dream, is there. And Bitcoin has the ability to do that even better than the current dividend stock options that are there. And so I'm excited about that message because it meets dividend investors where they're at. And it gives Bitcoiners that have been philosophically motivated by fix the money, fix the world. It gives them kind of I'm recognizing a humility in myself that I haven't experienced for a while, where it's you know what? The dividend investors were right about one thing. They were right that dividend-based passive income is a very financially freeing feeling, and they can be right about that. And everyone that talks about Bitcoin can also be right about the evils of fiat money and the problems with the way the stock market currently works. Both those things are true. Both those things are true, and blending both of those is creating just a really interesting, cool personal finance story of Bitcoin being the thing that sets people, just financially free, and just here's what it actually does for you right now. Not talking about just random, maybe if society does this in the future, then this will happen. Da 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 da. No, here's how Bitcoin can transform your month-to-month personal finances right now in real time. Here's another concrete numbers-based way that Bitcoin can create more budget freedom in your day-to-day monthly budget, okay? And it's that say the normal stock market savings is growing 10% a year, okay? 10% a year. Let's just call it 10% a year. Conservative annual growth rate for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is growing at 40% a year. That's its actual growth rate is 40% a year. But let's just be conservative and dial it back down to 20, okay? For the sake of just this mental exercise right here. So Bitcoin is growing at 20% a year. All the regular stock market options are going at 10% a year. The main way that Bitcoin personal finance people have talked about this so far, and I wouldn't even call them Bitcoin personal finance people, the main way that Bitcoin people talk about this is they're just the stock market's dumb, Bitcoin's better, right? You all have your friends that say that. The stock market's dumb, Bitcoin's better. No, let's just look at it like this from a personal finance perspective. Look, option A is growing 10% a year. Option B is growing 20% a year, okay? If you believe that, you have to get over the hurdles of believing that and educating yourself enough about Bitcoin to a fundamental level to understand why it's going to grow at 20% a year, okay? But say you get over that hurdle. Instead of just being oh, I'm going to put all my money in it, but then in the future, it'll be awesome because Bitcoin is growing at 20%, this is growing at 10%. No, what if right now you're oh, if this is growing 10% more than the previous baseline, that means that my future is good and I can take profits in the present by spending 10% more than I was. It allows you to save that much less because the savings is that much more efficient. So in that sense, you're literally eating out one more time that month now is baked in because your efficiency of saving for the future has now gotten more efficient. Okay? You don't have to, when you understand the efficiency of Bitcoin, you don't have to operate on such a slim budget anymore. You're able to experience the little bit of freedom in the present. And I've talked to multiple people about this now, and I'm going to continue articulating this because Bitcoin is creating financial freedom, creating financial space in the present. In the present, it's doing that. And you can reorient your personal finances to take advantage of that efficiency. And you can realize the gains in real time by spending more of your income in the present. So it's not about, because previously, fiat-based personal finance is just spend less, work harder, like save more. Like it's all about you. Like you have to do something. You have to do something. Bitcoin personal finance is like, look, structurally, this is why Bitcoin is more efficient savings mechanism than stocks and then a high yield savings account. This is why. Okay? Which means that now that savings, of the savings being more efficient, can lead to having more disposable income now. More disposable income now. So those are the two concrete ways where I'm experiencing both of these in real time, where my monthly budget is experiencing more disposable income because we're using BTCI to create income based off selling away the upward volatility of Bitcoin with this product. And then at the same time, because our long-term savings is so efficient compared to other options, we don't have to jam as much into it every month, which means our income that we bring in can go to buying things and living a great life.